So today, the topic that I wanted to bring in is navigating the ups and downs in life. So this came up because from my other classes, some students talked about, the challenges that they may be going through in their own life situations, and how can we bring this practice into our daily life. The way that I like to teach yoga nidra meditation, and in particular, this is IREST, which is integrative restoration. It's one style of yoga nidra, if you like. It's still very much based in the traditional yoga nidra practice, but with some slight modifications so that it's a trauma-sensitive practice. So this is developed by a clinical psychologist that lives in San Rafael, up in Northern California. And so the way that I teach this class is not about come in, have a relaxing, 30, 35 minutes, and then go back into your stressful life. The practice is about how we can bring this as how to integrate this practice in your life, because the practice is not really here. Here is sort of like you're testing things out, you're almost going to school, learning new tools, but the real practice is out in your life, in your daily life, and how you can start to make things easier for yourself, if you like. And so one of the things that I think many people struggle with is that there's this concept of, there are certain things that I want a certain way in life. And so if our situations align properly, then things will be fine and I'll be happy. And it could be something really simple as, if I can just get the kids in the morning and they just, do what they're told and we get out of the house on time, I'll be happy. Then I'll be less stressful for the rest of the day. And then sometimes it doesn't happen. My eldest decided he didn't want to go to school today, and so he's at home right now. Granted, he's not feeling very well, and so things like that happen, right? And then so we can get frustrated and goes, now I have to change up my day. I have to think about lunch for you. I have to, shift my schedule around. But then, these are things we're adding on to the situation. The reality is he's not well. He's going to be home. That's it. All the other frustration that I could potentially add to this situation, that would be me adding on to that situation. I'm frustrated. You've ruined my plans for the day. Now I have to think of this. These are things that I add on. And sometimes we forget that, we add on to things that create our own frustration and our own suffering. But a lot of the times these things happen without us even realizing that they're happening. It's like our unconscious. And oftentimes when we feel like something is not right, or I don't feel good about this, or I'm upset about the situation, it's not really just the situation that's happened now. It's probably something that happened before, maybe something that happened a long time ago that repeats itself. And so maybe those are old wounds or old triggers for us that we never really took the time to examine. And then so when a similar situation arises, we interpret the situation a certain way and then we react. Meditation is really about, can we start to examine these things that are in our unconscious, start to bring them up to our conscious awareness, because as long as they're in our unconscious mind, there's nothing we can do about it. It's just going to automatically run its programming. The only time when we actually have a choice as to how we want to act and behave or think or feel, it's when we now realize, this is what's happening, this is what I'm bringing up, and this is how I'm reacting. So that's the first step, and meditation really helps us to pay attention to, isn't that interesting? I just sense frustration here. And it's not so much about, this behavior I'd like to change this behavior in myself. So the meditation is about, making me change so that things will be better, because that's just another form of attachment, that instead of, attaching to one thing, you've just attached to another thing. Like, I need to be more enlightened. That's another attachment. And so at the beginning, sometimes it's helpful to have some sort of intention, some sort of goal, and some sort of attachment to what you want to do, why you're doing this, why are you meditating, why are you wanting to change your life. We start somewhere. So it's not wrong to have certain expectations for yourselves, but the meditation process helps you to check in and say, am I really attached to this? Because now it's no longer healthy for me to have this kind of relationship with this situation or with this person or even with myself. And so when it comes to the ups and downs in life, perhaps the first thing we can just learn to do is, can we just take a step back for a moment and realize what's happened, what are we adding to the situation, and what are our expectations and our attachments here? Because when we start to inquire into our situations like this, now you're in the process, right? Now you're on the path. And it's not about how can I be perfect, how can I change this about myself, or that, oh, I'm bad for doing things this way. It's a non-judgmental witnessing. It's not like, oh, now you need to do better because you were bad. It's like, oh, this is what happened. Isn't that interesting? What would be helpful next time? So it's not about how you can be better as a person. It's what can you do to make better choices that's going to be more in alignment with what your heart wants, so that in the end you're going to feel more at peace in your life, right? It's not about it's not a striving to be better, because that's another form of attachment, that, oh, I need to be this person to be happy. No, you're just inquiring. Every day is an inquiry. And so another thing is that sometimes we forget that the ups and downs are there because they are opposites, and opposites co-arise together. And in previous times we talked about opposites in more detail, but just as a refresh or a summary, everything that we can experience come to us in a dualistic way, meaning that there are two. There are opposites. There's good and bad, right and wrong, light and dark. So our experiences are split into sort of sets of opposites, if you like, or that's how we experience the world. And this is important because the opposites come up together because they can only exist together. Everything that we experience is relative to something else. We feel the room heating up. We know this is warm because we know what cold feels like. If we didn't know what cold felt like, or if cold didn't exist, then this temperature have nothing to contrast itself against. It would just be. There's no word to even describe this temperature. So our experiences are relative to something else that contrasts that experience. And so we know what it feels like to be ecstatic and joyful and happy because we also know what the opposite of that feels like. We know peace because we know what chaos or challenges or disruption feels like. Now, if we get rid of one side of the opposite, we won't experience the other side. And so ups and downs, good or bad, all of these things, they have to show up. They are together. They are opposite sides of the same coin. We can't get rid of one. Though our minds are very attached to one side of the coin. Oh, I only want to experience the pleasurable things. I only ever want to be at peace. Challenges are bad. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel all of these other things. And sure, we have preferences, and that's not wrong either. But the meditation process helps you to realize, oh, I have preference for this, but not only do I prefer this, I need this to be happy. Now I'm really betting my happiness on my situation or my life turning out in this way. Otherwise, everything else is I'll experience it as suffering. So when part of the practice here is about, okay, again, taking that step back and recognizing where my attachments are. And just in that recognition alone helps you to detach a little bit and goes, okay, I didn't know that I was so fused with this. I can now see that I can give myself a little bit of space, a little bit of distance, and that in itself can release some tension. But another thing that your meditation practice helps us to cultivate a new attitude in understanding that change is always going to be there. You're going to feel into one set of opposites at some point in your life, and know that that's going to change. So whether it's joy or pleasure, yes, we can experience it, but that's going to change. And it's a false idea to think that we can hold on to that and experience that forever and forever, because that actually prevents you from enjoying the experience while you have it. Even when you're feeling joy, you're like, oh, how can I keep this? How much longer do I have this? Oh, I don't even want to think about when this ends, or I can't let all these other changes come in because then that will disrupt my peace. Like, so you're not really at peace even when you have the opportunity to experience it. But when we come to an acceptance that, oh, things are going to change, so this joy is here and I can enjoy this, and yet I'm also aware that it's going to change, and I have an acceptance around that. I'm okay that it changes. Then there's not as much of a holding on of this has to be this way. And when the change comes, then hopefully we can cultivate a practice where we can accept that, okay, change is here, and it's okay. And now I feel the downs. I don't feel very happy right now. And that's okay too, because now I can appreciate that this is the opposite side of the happiness I was feeling, and it needs to be here, and it's here to send me a message. So in the practice of I-REST, we take everything in as a messenger. And of course, you don't need to inquire into every single little thing that comes up for you, but you can. But, these are opportunities that, okay, maybe I can take it as a messenger. What is this sadness or frustration telling me about my situation? What is the next logical or next appropriate step forward to help me on my journey? It's not about how can I take the next step forward to get my happiness back. What is the next step that's in my highest good that's going to help me on my spiritual journey or my personal journey? And then that's what you're focused on, just in the moment. What am I supposed to do with this? Whether it's happiness, whether it's the opposite. And then there's less of an attachment of how things need to be for you to be happy, because that's all a belief. It's just what you think you need to be happy. It's not actually what you need. There's nothing that you need in life. It's going to be different for everyone. It's your belief of what you think you need. So letting that go, then perhaps you can be happy no matter what the situation is. And that's possible, because that's what this practice is about, is how can we find that stillness, that equanimity within each and every one of us that is independent of our external circumstances. And that's what the practice is. But of course, it's step by step, and there's, I know I've kind of brought in a lot of concepts today. And it is possible to even enjoy and appreciate things that we may have, put them into the category of bad things or things that are unenjoyable, because again, those are thoughts too. Those are our beliefs too. What we think is good and what we think is bad, those are all make-believe, if you like. You can change that. I can say, oh, I hate this heat. I hate it. This is so undesirable for me. But, that's not fact. Some people love this temperature, right? And so we can also shift that. Can we start to peel away these conceptual labels as to what we, label all of these things in our lives, and can we just take this is this temperature. Can I just be with it just as it is, without calling it bad, without, putting all that extra stuff on top? Again, that's a training. It's not going to happen overnight, but we're going to start practicing. Oh, can I shift my perspective a little bit? Where am I adding on to the situation when it's not needed? And then even when you are feeling down, know that that's also going to change, because sometimes we can get really stuck there and think, oh, this is my life now. Oh, one thing after another, and it's always this way. But what we don't know is, or what we forget sometimes, is that we experience or we give energy to what we put attention, or what we give attention to. So if we're gonna, how sometimes I remember when I was pregnant, all of a sudden I can see everything that's baby related. I'm seeing all these babies in the streets and the prams and all the pregnant mothers and baby clothing, things that I didn't, I just wasn't paying attention before. But it's not that they weren't there. They were always there, but I wasn't paying attention to them. But when I started paying attention, then all of these things came up. And that can happen too when we're down. We're like, oh, life sucks, everything is horrible. And then that's where our focus, and we can kind of reinforce that and say, see, that thing happened again. Oh, and this happened and that happened. But all of these things have always been here. Opposites show up together, but you're choosing to give energy to one side of the opposite. And so in the practice of I-Rest is also recognizing, where are you placing your attention? Can you bring yourself, again, take a step back, and can we give attention maybe in a more balanced way? Sure, notice the bad, but also notice the opposite of that. What else is present, right? And then we start to realize that, okay, well, here are some things that, this reality I've created for myself. And I'm suffering so much in here thinking that it's the external world and nothing I can do. But actually, you'd be surprised how much control we have over how we feel. And in fact, some would say that your internal experience is completely within your control. The mistake is you're trying to control your external environment to make you feel better internally. And that's a losing battle. You can't control what's outside of you. I can't even know what you're thinking right now as I'm speaking, Some of you are smiling, right? And I'm like, okay, maybe they're getting what I'm saying, but who knows? Maybe you're like, I don't know. I don't agree with any of this. Who knows, right? But I know how I'm feeling, right? And I can always, that's the only thing I have control over, even though sometimes we might feel like the emotions are quite overwhelming and that you're not in control. But this whole practice is learning about how we can navigate the ups and downs. How can we understand what is within our control? What are we adding to the situation? And all of this in the unconscious is not helpful. It's going to feel like we're not in control, because we're not when things are unconscious to us. But the meditation practice is about how can we little by little bring these unconscious thoughts, beliefs, emotions to a conscious awareness, to our conscious awareness. Now that we see what we're doing, now we can do something about it. Doesn't mean that we will do something about it, but it gives us an opportunity that if we wanted to act, now we know what's here. Now we know what we're dealing with. So with that, I forgot my watch today, but I think it's time. So in the meditation practice today, we will explore a little bit around, say, an experience that you might have. You don't have to think of it as, oh, do I have to think of a good experience or a bad experience? You might just come up with something that you might be feeling right now, maybe something you're working with right now, or maybe there's nothing in particular, and that's okay too. In the practice of I-Rest, we never force anything to happen. So if nothing is present for you, we'll explore nothingness. How does nothingness feel like to you? So there's always something we can inquire into. But if there's an experience that you have, that you might be experiencing, we're gonna just explore, how do you feel? Because one thing we do is we tend to add to the story. So here we're trying to experience your situation in your body instead of in your head. We're going to just see, how does it feel if I were to let go of the stories? How can I experience this in a different way in my body? Know that your mind, if you're especially new to this practice, your mind will think and you'll want to think. And the practice is not about stopping the thinking, because your thoughts can also be part of the inquiry. So don't feel like you failed if your mind is like, oh, I cannot switch it off. We'll just take it on and say, okay, can I take a step back and watch my thoughts? And watch where my judgments come in, watch where I'm adding story to it, because you'll catch yourself at one point. If you set the intention to be a witness, you'll catch yourself go, oh, okay, I'm not a witness anymore. Let me take myself back. Okay, that's just happened. That's interesting. And so you don't necessarily need to feel like you need to stop your mind. Yoga Nidra does take you into different stages of consciousness for certain people. And so sometimes you will be taken to the consciousness of sleep. And if you do fall asleep, it's okay. It's part of the process as well. Some people will fall asleep and that there is, maybe you'll sense that there is an awareness there also, that even though your body's fallen asleep, something is still aware. And that could be interesting as well. So we can, always talk about this at the end of class if there's an experience that came up for you. But otherwise, it's everything I say is a suggestion. So don't feel like you have to do exactly and follow me exactly throughout the meditation. And know that it's also normal for people to drift in and out. So you might hear me sometimes and then you lose me and then you'll come back again. So don't allow the process to happen as it needs to happen today, and know that is perfect. So with that, I'll let you get set up. You'll be guided through a 30-35 minute meditation. Some people like to put something soft behind the head, maybe something underneath the legs, either a bolster underneath the legs, or you might have a rolled up blanket underneath the legs. So even just give yourself a moment. If you need to grab more props, please do. So the initial moment is really getting settled in. So give yourself time to just test drive the pose that you're setting yourself in. And then see if there are adjustments that you need to make so that you can be truly comfortable. Know that the room will continue to heat up as it prepares for the next class. But that as we get into a meditative state, that our core body temperature tends to drop as well. So even if you're not feeling cold, or maybe you're a bit warm right now, have your sweaters or blankets close by. As we get settled in, your body temperature might change. And then continue to get settled in, making any extra movements, and see what else that you can do to help you feel maybe 5 or 10% more comfortable. If at any moment you need to shift or change your position during your practice, know that you never need my permission, but perhaps you might take a moment to pause and be a witness to the urge to move, and take that into your inquiry as well. And if the message is move, then definitely go ahead and shift as needed. Okay. So allowing yourself to get settled in. And we'll begin to allow your senses to open. You might sense into any residual taste in the mouth. Opening to the sense of taste. And there's no need to look for something to taste. We're just being open to experience what's here. Opening to the sense of smell. Again, not trying to grasp or find something to smell. Just noticing what smells are present. Opening to the sounds around you. Noticing the sounds that may be in the room or outside of the room. And perhaps you might notice the sounds that you prefer in a meditation versus sounds that you might be hearing that you would prefer not to hear in a meditation. But all of this is part of the practice. It's a beautiful opportunity for us to practice finding that peace and stillness within, no matter what our external environment may be bringing to us. Noticing our reactions, our feelings towards the different sensations that we are perceiving in this moment and throughout the practice today. Even with your eyes closed, you might notice the sense of sight. You might notice different shades of light and dark behind the eyelids. You might notice different colors or shapes or imagery. Again, there's no need to make anything happen. Just being open, receptive. And then opening to the sense of touch. Feeling the ground beneath you. Sensing the fabric upon your skin. All of your 5 senses open. Without needing to search or grasp or find anything to sense, allowing the different perceptions to come to you. A sense of deep listening. If there's an intention that you would like to set for your practice today, allow this intention to come forth. It could be the reason why you came to class today. It might be a certain way you wish to feel as a result of this practice. Perhaps it's just to remain alert and curious. Whatever your intention, feel this in your whole body. Feel that intention sinking in. Perhaps we may bring attention to a bigger intention. Your intention for life. Your life purpose, your life mission. What is something that your heart wants for you more than anything else in this lifetime? Your heartfelt desire. And there's no need to overthink. Perhaps stay with the feeling. Maybe sensations in the heart center, noticing what's coming through. And allowing your heartfelt desire to sink in, feeling it with your whole body. We'll invite in your inner resource. You can think of your inner resource as a safe haven, your inner sanctuary. Somewhere where you feel safe and secure. Sometimes it's helpful to bring in imagery. There might be a certain place, whether it's real or imaginary, where you feel completely safe and secure. Or perhaps your safety, security comes from a person or a group of people. Maybe it's an animal or even objects. Feel free to bring up any imagery that may be helpful for you to tap into a sense of safety and security within yourself. And if complete safety and complete security is not accessible today, that's okay. Maybe see if you can find somewhere where you feel just a little bit safer or a little bit more secure than you are now. Perhaps a sense of feeling okay. There's a sense of okayness. That can still be your inner resource. It's a great place to start. So tapping into this sense of safety, sense of security, however it might be showing up to you, at whatever intensity. Notice how you feel this in your body. Where do you feel safety and security? Do you feel it in your belly, your chest, or other areas? Or is it a whole body sensation? There's no right or wrong answer. Each of us experience our inner resource differently. There might be certain feelings sense that co-arises with this feeling of safety and security. Some students describe their inner resource as feeling grounded, sense of feeling centered and rooted. Perhaps there's a sense of relaxation, a sense of feeling at ease, calm, peaceful. Maybe there's a feeling of well-being or joy, equanimity. Notice what else may be showing up for you as you feel into your inner resource, this place of safety. Again, there's no right or wrong answer here. Paying attention to how you're feeling and how that is showing up as physical sensations. And when you're really sensing into your inner resource in your body, you can even let the imagery go. The image is not your inner resource. What you are feeling in your body, that's your inner resource. So taking a moment to recognize the sensations that are present for you here. How it feels to feel safe. How your body responds, or how is safety manifested in your body. That's your inner resource. Know that you can always come back to this inner resource of yours at any time, whether it be throughout this practice or take it with you into your daily life. Whenever you feel the need to feel grounded, to come back to a place of safety, come back to a place of equanimity, you can always call upon your inner resource. This is something that is already here, independent of your external circumstances. Now you might stay with your inner resource if this feels good to stay and explore. Even for the rest of the practice, if you want to make it about your inner resource, stay right here. And otherwise, we'll continue on the journey and we'll take a trip around the body. So as I name each area, you might sense certain sensations, or maybe you don't feel anything in particular. Either is perfect. Again, there's nothing that you need to make happen here. So take a moment now, bring your focus to your jaw. Notice sensations around the jaw. Sensing the jaw, the mouth, sensations inside the mouth, sensing the tongue, any residual taste in the mouth, on the tongue. Feeling all the way towards the back of the throat. Sensing into your inner ears. left and right. Inner ears all the way to the outside of the ears. And the ears receiving sound. Sensing into the nose. Flow of air through your nostrils. Nose perceiving smell. Sensing into the eyes. Sensing your left eye. Eyebrow, temple, cheekbone. The eye socket, the eyeball. Feeling the whole left eye. Sensing your right eye, eyebrow, temple, cheekbone, the eye socket, eyeball, and the whole right eye. Your eyes perceiving sight. Sensing both eyes at the same time. Sensation of the whole face. Feeling the whole face. Top of the head. Back of the head. Back of the neck. Front of the throat. The whole head and neck. Sensations of the shoulders, left and right. Shoulder blades, collarbones. Sensing the upper arms. Flow of sensations streaming down towards the elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, all of the fingers and thumbs. Feeling both your arms and hands together. Sensing the front of the torso and the back of the torso. The whole torso. Sensing the sacrum, the pelvis, hips and buttocks. Sensing into the upper legs, left and right. Feeling the knees, lower legs, ankles, feet, all of the toes, sensing both legs and feet together. Sensation of the whole body. Notice the whole front of the body. Perhaps you might even take your breath into the whole front of the body. Sense that you're breathing into the whole front of the body. And then breathe into the whole back of the body. Breathing into the whole left side of the body. Breathing into the whole right side of the body. Notice the breath within the body, filling up the whole inside of the body. And then allowing the breath to expand to outside of the body, sensing the surface and beyond. Feeling the whole body. Now it might feel good to stay right here, sensing into your breath, sensing into your body. If so, stay right here. Enjoy the breath. Enjoy the sensations of the body. Know that you can always invite in your inner resource whenever you need. But if you wish to continue with me, we'll take a journey or take a little inquiry around the topic today. Navigating ups and downs. So you might bring to mind an experience or a situation. Notice your sensations, your reactions, and your feelings towards this. Maybe it's something that's been happening, maybe it's a theme in your life, or maybe it's a particular memory. And of course, if nothing is coming to mind, that's okay too. We can inquire into nothingness, noticing how nothingness show up and how you feel. So give yourself a moment here. Bring this situation to mind. And just notice, are you able to be with it for just a little bit? If it's too intense, listen to your body. That resistance is a messenger. And it's beautiful. So there's no need to force anything. If resistance is what you feel, you might inquire into the resistance and just notice, is it okay to be with it? So whatever that's showing up for you right now, maybe just taking a moment without agenda, without trying to fix or change or make anything happen. Can we just be with it just as it is? Notice what sensations may be arising for you in this moment as you think about this situation. What physical sensations are arising in this moment? Is it localized anywhere? Is it a whole body sensation? Being this neutral witness, notice if there are certain emotions or thoughts that may be also co-arising. Are you adding onto this story? Are you making this into a story? There's no judgment. We're just taking a step back and understanding what's happening. Are we able to be a neutral witness? That might be something that you're witnessing. Perhaps you're not able to be a neutral witness. All of this is information. It's not right or wrong, good or bad, whatever that may be showing up for you. We're meeting ourselves in this moment, greeting all that may be present, without judging, without fixing, without changing, taking things just as they are, without adding to it, without pushing them away. And feeling this in your body, embodying this experience. Not trying to make sense or find solutions. The intellectual mind is not really needed here, though it likely wants to participate. Just notice how is your body feeling in this moment? Without needing to make sense of what it's feeling, but just being with what it's feeling. Allowing the sensations to be just as they are. And perhaps inquiring into the opposite. If there is an opposite to this situation, or an opposite to what you're feeling, what would that be? What would that look like? Maybe giving yourself a moment to inquire into the opposite, the other side of the coin. What's here? Are we able to be with it? And if not, it's okay too. Trust the wisdom of your body. You can always call in your inner resource. You can always choose to direct your attention elsewhere. But if it is okay to be with it, can we be with it for just a little while? And again, without overthinking, without trying to make sense of it, without judging, storytelling, what's present in your body here? What are the physical sensations that are showing up? Feeling this in your whole body. And if it is interesting, you might shift back and forth between these two opposites. Fully feeling and embodying the first set of, or the first side of the opposite. And when you feel full, when you've had enough, switch to the other side of the opposite. Fully embodying, allowing, embracing all the sensations. And shifting back and forth as many times as it makes sense for you. Again, our experiences are always in contrast to something else, and when we bring in the opposites and we play with the opposites this way, sensing into one and then the other, sometimes more subtle sensations or insights might come to us. But again, this is an inquiry. It's a play. It's an experiment. There's no agenda. There's no right or wrong way to do this. And if you are playing with the two opposites, what would it feel like if you were to hold both opposites at the same time? And again, this is not something that the mind can do, though it will try. We're not trying to blend the two experiences together. We're not trying to mix them and create something new. What if we were able to hold space? What if we were big enough to have both present at the same time? Holding both opposites at once. What would that feel like? And eventually, perhaps letting the inquiry go, allowing the opposites to dissolve into the background. Might invite in your inner resource once again, coming into this place of safety and security. Ground yourself back into your body, find that safe space. You might touch back on the intention that you had set at the beginning of practice and notice how that resonates with you in this moment. Your heartfelt desire, how does that resonate with you in this moment? Gradually allowing your breath to deepen. Bring more awareness back into your body and your physical space around you, your immediate environment. Might wriggle your fingers and toes and gently bring some movement back into the body. Maybe it feels good to bend the knees and roll over to one side, taking your time to slowly transition fully back